A true Talking Tuesday is upon us. That's right. A Tuesday on the beat where we get to go talk to Ohio State players and ask questions and Ryan Day. So this is what it's all about, and it's even better because television, 10 TVs, Adam King is joining me for this Tuesday edition of the Austin and Berm Show. It's no Berm. We get Adam King instead. It's much better.
It's equally as subpar, and that's all we can ask for, you know?
The highest of praise.
The highest of praise, perfectly. And we finally get to talk about football. I've seen things, Austin. I saw practices.
We did get to see things. And not finally talking about quarterbacks because it seems like that's all we do. But today, we have no choice.
That's all we got to talk about because that's who we get to talk to.
Julian Sayin, Lincoln Keenholz, Billy Fesler, and Ryan Day. I don't know if we'll get Tavian St. Clair. I guess probably not. But that's fine because the other four we have a lot of questions for.
We absolutely do. And I think the first question is, when is Julian Sayin going to be named the starting quarterback?
Oh, wow. Just going straight at it.
Diving straight in.
Okay.
I was convinced after Saturday's practice, it is Julian's. You have to make that kid the starting quarterback. He's got the arm. It's unbelievable. When you watch him, the highs of Julian Sayin, it's time to give him the role, let him settle into it. Lincoln Keenholz, he's great. Love him. Good leader. Great guy. Great arm. But Julian's just a different level of talent. And I think that we're closer to that than I would have thought of someone being named maybe a week ago. I feel like if I'm Ryan Day and I'm looking at the film, I'm starting to see a little bit of separation.
So you're sold?
I'm sold. And to be clear, the first practice, I was not sold. The first practice, I just kind of put my face in my hands and said, come on. Like it felt like Julian, he could do it. Sometimes it's just about settling in. I think he really started to settle in that third practice with pads.
I suppose the only devil's advocacy I would provide is that, if you're evaluating the highs and the highest of highs and the best throws, there's no question. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's really not. The deep throws, the quick release, the same things we've talked about since spring or even going back to training camp a year ago, it's all still the same. There was, and I think probably the idea that's burned in your brain, if I had to guess, is just watching those deep throws on air down towards
they were just beautiful.
The north end,
tightest of spirals.
North end zone on field number 2.
It was so pretty.
I know exactly where they were.
If you haven't seen them, they're on my Twitter.
So I understand that. I do think that there is. That's probably why Julian Sayin is going to win the job. Mm-hmm. I think the reason that we may not hear a definitive lean one way or the other today on Tuesday at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center is still when it comes to the matter of play in, play out consistency.
Yep.
I think Lincoln Keenholz offers a currently higher floor. The mission for Julian Sayin is to raise his own floor and decrease the variance between his best throws and the not so good throws.
Routinely. I mean, he says it all the time, but it's actually what you need to see from Julian Sayin. And I'll say this. I thought Lincoln Keenholz looked very good in the red zone drills.
It was immediately after that.
Yeah, it was immediately after the deep balls. He was putting perfect. Like, I feel so much more comfortable about this quarterback battle than I did about Kyle McCord and Devin Brown.
Yeah.
And I think that is something we had to figure out in the first 3 days is, are we in a scenario where, one of these guys needs to step up, or are we in a scenario where these are two good guys that could definitely go out and lead this Buckeye team? I think we're certainly in the second portion of that. I don't think Ryan Day is anywhere near naming a starting quarterback because I don't think he has to. One, we don't get to see any more practices. So from here on out, he could have Julian Sayin take every rep. He could have Lincoln Keenholz take every rep, and no one would ever know.
I bet we would know.
It would sneak out, but we would never see it with our own eyes.
Yeah.
But with that said, I just feel like it's really hard to watch them practice, both of them, and know that you have to win that game against Texas and not think, let's put the guy in there that if he plays at his best, it could be a Heisman Finals, which is crazy to say, but that's what you want. If you're an Ohio State quarterback, you need to be in the conversation for New York.
Yeah. And you have the receivers that can get you there.
Exactly. And so I feel like when you see Julian, you see that. Lincoln Keenholz is more than capable of being the starting quarterback. I most of all, what I would say to Ryan, my biggest question would be, do you feel more comfortable? Do you feel better about where you sit right now compared to when you walked out of the spring, because I certainly do. Julian looked great in the spring game, but they looked different in these first 3 days of practice. They've just got to settle in a little bit. That's the only thing. It's just like, I made a joke to you when the defensive line was instead replaced by the specialists who just kind of stand there and hold their hands up. The quarterback looked electric. They were making amazing throws, perfectly placed. It's when the defensive line, which turns out Texas, not planning on just standing there and raising their hands.
Probably not.
No, probably not. We can't confirm. It was when the defensive line really started to get after them that you could see the youth of those quarterbacks, both of them. And so that is, I think, the next step is how do you handle the pressure when, the pocket is closing so quickly?
You know what I think Ohio State needs to do? They need to invest in some of those wacky waving, arm flailing two-men. Like, that'd be a lot easier. Then the specialists can go practice.
Anybody listening can't see me doing this.
That's all right. That's the audio only.
Yeah.
Download that anywhere you get podcasts.
Yeah.
But if you're watching on 10 TV Plus, 10 TV, 97.1, the Fan YouTube, you can see Adam doing a great arm flailing two-man.
Wacky arm inflatable tube man.
I think that's the question for me with Ryan Day. It's like, we all, I think, are in agreement that the upside, the highest potential, the greatest ceiling exists with Julian Sayin's arm. Let's say you are in the middle of August or you're in the week of the Texas game. Does Ryan Day feel more comfortable taking the baseline expectation of what Lincoln Keenholz provides now? Or would he rather bet on the potential? Because it's not as if they get to start with Grambling, Ohio and ramp up to Texas. Like, they have to go out and play the opener. And I think there's just this sense of inevitability, whether it's you, me, Berm, anybody else. Julian Sayin is eventually going to get that job. Does it have to be by Texas?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Well, I'm asking Ryan Day, not you.
Yeah, well,
I know you've made your decision.
After Ryan starts talking, I'll just scream
You
yes.
just say yes, okay.
And let's move on.
I'm not trying to make it a controversy. I think that's the notion that's out there. It doesn't do me any good.
Listen, I completely understand why there is a QB competition.
Yeah.
I understand why there is a competition. I get it. You can see it. And it's because Lincoln Keenholz is more than capable of not only being the starting quarterback, but being a very good starting quarterback.
Yeah.
And that stinks because it's a great problem to have, but because it only makes it harder for Ryan Day to sit one of these guys down and say, you have done everything right, yet you did not get the job.
Yeah.
You don't have the ability like you did in the past where, what Justin Fields had, chugging off? And where you're like, okay, there's a clear disparity here. Okay, there's a clear disparity here. There is not a clear disparity because they're both doing what they're asked.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I think you got to dive in with 2 feet. You've got to say, all right, and this matters to me, and it should matter to the fan base. If you pick Lincoln, there's a world where you have another QB competition next year. If you pick Julian, you know your starter this year and next year, and that has to matter. It has to be about not just how does he look week 1, how does he look week 2, how does he look week 16, how do you look next year in the middle of October when your quarterback has now played 26 games in a row and he's locked in with Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. And I don't think Ryan is sitting there just making up a QB competition. I think it's just a really tough decision because Lincoln is an Iron Buckeye. Lincoln has done everything right. Lincoln would be the starting quarterback at every other school in America. He's just picked the one school, maybe not Texas because Arch Manning's there, but he picked the one school where they went out, they saw a really good Julian Sayin looking for somewhere to go and said, let's go take a shot on this kid. And you don't bring him in here to make him the backup. And I feel for Lincoln, and I don't think we'll have a starting quarterback for a couple of weeks, but I would almost ask Lincoln or Julian, what do you think you need to do to get the starting quarterback job? Like when you sit down at night, do you feel like you're doing everything right? Or is there something where you're like, well, I got to be better at this? Yeah,
I'm definitely curious about the answer from both of those guys because we saw on Saturday Lincoln Keenholz staying after practice to get extra work. I'm not going to put words in his mouth. He can answer this later on today. But he looked frustrated. He knew that everyone saw those drills, the ones that you're talking about, where Julian's arm strength was shining and that people were going to go crazy. And whether that includes the coaching staff or not, I mean, he probably knows that that wasn't going to be good enough when they went to review the film, and he was trying to get that done. So it's the same deal. It's going to be the same conversation, in my opinion, or at least I expect it will be, that Lincoln Keenholz knows he's going to have to make the more extraordinary plays more routinely, which is a tall task and not the easiest thing to accomplish. But when it comes to, again, ripping slants and
Slant king.
Like, he's the slant king.
He does it so well.
He does it really well. People have asked what we think is the best trait for Lincoln Keenholz. They haven't seen him flash the arm talent. The Cotton Bowl is still the only real public in-game evaluation that we have. The spring game was a rough start and then getting better. Like, those are the only two things that exist. It's like, well, what stands out in my mind about Lincoln Keenholz? The physical testing, for one, off the charts in terms of the athleticism. And we know that the leadership component is there. The team seems to really rally around him and buy into the things that he does well, whether that's softball games, golf, being an Iron Buckeye. All the checks, some of those boxes are more important than the others, but he does all that well. And then
golf is very important.
Very important. And then I think about, I don't believe he's missed a slant. It's crazy.
It's the perfect.
You can't build an offense out of slants alone.
Perfectly in stride every time. But again, if you could play two quarterbacks, you'd be in a great scenario.
Yeah.
But you only get to play one.
Yeah. And so I think that is probably, something that Lincoln recognizes and would talk about. I expect that he would. I think he came back expecting that he could compete for a reason, and he's got some parts of his game that he has to get better at. For Julian, it's like, well, if he can make more of the extraordinary plays than Lincoln Keenholz, which it appears that he can, if we're talking about stretching the field and deep ball accuracy, things like that, then it is going back to the other part. Your low points, you got to clear up some of those, and then what is it? It's routine plays.
Routinely.
Making them commonly. Yes.
Yes.
I think he knows that too.
It's so funny to me because if you listen to Ryan Day's pressers week in and week out, you hear a lot of coach speak, quote unquote. And Ryan will tell you it's coach speak. But it's actually accurate, which is wild to think. Like, sometimes he'll say things, you're like, oh, that's coach speak. And then you see it play out, and like routine plays routinely.
Oh, that's why he said that.
Yeah, that's what made Will so good. It wasn't that Will was unbelievable at putting the ball in the tightest spots. He had his great throws, but at the end of the day, Will was great at taking a team, leading them down the field, understanding that his sole job was to drive this Corvette and not crash it.
Right.
And that's really what we've seen from Ohio State quarterbacks, going back to C.J. Stroud. Now, C.J. Stroud, towards the end, became quite the engine of the Corvette.
The BPS.
Yes.
Ball placement specialist.
Ball placement specialist. And he ran against Georgia. Truly remarkable.
Imagine that.
But now, I think if you plug in Julian Sayin, you're not looking at someone who is driving the Corvette. You're looking at someone that I think by the time you're playing the game that matters most, which is, I guess you could say two, Penn State and Michigan, I think he will be settled in enough that he's going to make a lot of wow plays. And I think making wow plays to receivers that can then make their own wow plays is how you win a national championship.
Yeah.
You've got, at some point, you've got to bet on your best. At the end of the day, you've got to sit down and you've got to say, Lincoln has done everything right. But at the end of the day, I'm going to push my chips in on the guy that I went out and got from Alabama, that I watched and said, this is the guy that people will tell you last year. I mean, last year we were talking about saying, is he in this quarterback competition?
Right. Well, not legitimately.
But
because we were impressed by the stuff on air. Same thing, yeah.
Yes, but we were watching reps, and he was getting some reps with the ones, and people were starting to talk. And he was like, oh, I'm rolling him, this, that, and the other. But like,
coach speak, but it was also true.
It was true. At the end of the day, I didn't think I would be sold this quickly, but I was, and I don't even know that it was the on-air throws. I just think there were a couple of times where I just watched Julian start to look a little more comfortable. You can see him get frazzled for a moment. And in those moments, you're like, okay, well, if this is Texas, you're in trouble. But I think he's got 23 or 22 now practices to get ready for that, to settle in. And I'm not the coach at Ohio State. But I would rather have...
You aren't.
I am not. Ryan politely asked me to stop showing up at the Woody saying I was the coach.
Okay.
I would rather have practices, the last 15,
Knowing
my guy in place.
Yeah.
And building the ones with the ones. I want every day leading up to Texas to feel like a real game, because there's, as you said, there is no soft launch with this team.
Yeah, I think that's what makes this week so critical. He said, well, they've only had 4 practices in training camp to this point, and Ryan Day would normally carry this into the middle of August. I'm not saying that by Saturday he has to decide, but if that first key scrimmage is Saturday, I think that's going to be the case. You're going to want to see continued improvement, because I would say this for sure. Thursday's practice wasn't great for Julian Sayin. Friday's was better than it was for him specifically.
No, you're
not
right.
in comparison to
You're
Lincoln
right.
Keenholz. Friday was better than Thursday, and then Saturday was much better than Friday.
Was the best we've seen him in a practice.
So that's continued improvement that you expect, because he still has not played very much football. Neither one, but if the assumption is Julian Sayin is going to start against Texas, which I think we all share it, I want to make that clear. Not trying to force any other narrative, any other competition.
I will come to your defense here. You're only going after what the head coach of Ohio State says. I think there's a quarterback competition here. I just feel my eyes have been open to the fact that I think the quarterback competition is starting to separate.
Yeah, I guess my point is that just because we say that there's a competition doesn't mean that the leader has changed. There have been days where Lincoln has outperformed Julian Sayin.
Thursday, he looked much better.
Yeah, and I don't think that was really true on Friday or Saturday, and that's through no fault of Lincoln Keenholz's own. I think that Julian Sayin is starting to elevate, and if he goes out in a scrimmage setting and shows that continued growth, he's going to make mistakes in it. That happens every single year. You're going full speed. The defense is 99% of the time going to be ahead of the offense, and Matt Patricia is pretty good, and Ohio State's defense has a lot of good players. Like, he's going to make mistakes. Then it becomes a matter of 1 week later, did Julian Sayin learn from those mistakes, erase those mistakes, and continue on the upward trend? Because Texas is not going to be wacky, wavy, arm-flaming Toombin. They're real dudes. That is one of the most talented defenses in the country, so you have to be...
the number 1 team in the country.
Well, those coaches did cast their votes. And kudos to them, by the way, for not falling for the James Franklin.
For the Penn State.
Good for them.
What I like is, and I said this to somebody, it's now 1 versus 2. And they said, well, that's just the coaches poll. And I said, no, from here on out, I'll say it's 1 versus 2.
We don't.
Well,
we found what we need.
Yeah, that's what I wanted, was the way to just tease it up as the greatest opener ever. And I got it. 1 versus 2. Well, that's the coaches poll. What if the AP has Ohio State 5? 1 versus 2.
Who cares about the AP?
The coaches
know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing.
Hey, I trust the coaches.
Yeah.
They
You're right.
downgraded James Franklin from the media poll.
They said, you know what? We're going to need James Franklin to prove it on the field.
And they're absolutely right, partner. Yeah. So we have some questions there for Lincoln Keenholz, some for Julian Sayin, Ryan Day. What about Billy Fesler? I'm pretty fascinated by his role in all this.
I would like to know what Billy Fesler's role in this is. Great question.
Yeah. Hey, Billy, what are you doing?
No, and not in that. What is...
Who let you in here?
What is your level of decision-making in this process? Because we know Ryan's the quarterback guy. We know Billy Fesler is a very good quarterback coach.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, is Billy Fesler going to Ryan and saying, this is my guy, I think this is it? And they're sitting there comparing notes. Is it Ryan going to Billy Fesler and saying, what have you seen? Where do you think we stand? Which I have no doubt that Fesler has a major implication in this process. I mean, he's out there working with these guys every single rep. As much as Ryan is involved with the quarterbacks, he's not there every single rep. And
that's the thing that Ryan Day's wanted, like not to have to be leading those quarterback rooms.
But it's hard. Every head coach, I mean, I think all the way through every team in college football in the NFL, at the end of the day, the head coach is probably going to decide the starting quarterback. It's just how it works. So I guess maybe more so, Billy, what have you seen? Where have you seen the most growth with each of these guys?
Yeah.
I think that he's someone that can lock in on every drill and say, you know what? I've watched Lincoln's footwork go from X to Y, and it's been phenomenal. I've watched Julian grow with pressure in his face. I still want to see Lincoln more accurate with those deep balls, which he's been accurate. But of course, we only got to see 3 practices, so we're gonna make all we can out of those.
Yeah.
I want to know
too much, probably.
Yeah, too much, because they're practicing again, and we don't get to see it this time. I would want to know, and I think he would be more willing to kind of dive into it. What makes each of these guys different? And what have you seen from fall camp that was different than spring ball?
You know what I wonder? While you were describing that, and we were talking about Billy Fesler and Ryan Day's role in all this, is Ryan Day able to largely keep his hands off of the competition, the day-to-day, the leading meetings, the film breakdown, getting into drills the way he wanted to? Because that was, as much as we talk about the play calling part, that was also the emphasis and the shift when having Chip Kelly and Billy Fesler in that room a year ago. Was like that Ryan Day got to be the CEO. It wasn't just on game day in the headset conversation. It was not having to be the direct responsible position coach. I know that he trusts Billy Fesler 100%. There's good reason for that. He's got one of the best resumes of a young quarterbacks coach or any assistant coach that you could hope to have, considering his age, how quickly he got into it. He has really risen in that profession on a rapid ascent. So I know Ryan Day trusts Billy Fesler. There's no reason not to at this point. He knows the system, and he's been around Julian Sayin and Lincoln Keenholz to give the feedback that you're talking about to Ryan Day. So because Ryan Day, I think, has to make the decision ultimately. He's the head coach of the program and knows quarterbacks better than anybody else. But is Ryan Day sneaking in there more than he might have a year ago? And that could be partly because of Will Howard. You had the trust of a veteran quarterback, didn't need to do it. Not just Chip Kelly, but also that combination of guys. Is Ryan Day letting Billy Fesler run all of that? Will Ryan Day even open up the door that we could say, oh, he's just going back and doing this all over again? I wonder to what extent he's involved in the actual hour-by-hour part of the quarterback battle and not the final decision going into Texas.
I wonder, and this might be a question for Ryan, and I'm going to ask it, so don't steal it.
Okay,
all right?
Deal.
Do you get a better sense of the quarterback battle when you're not in every single drill, in every day-to-day movement?
That's good. I'm gonna.
Yeah, because think about this. If you, at the end of the day, you could go through a million training things with a guy, but all that matters is those 35 snaps on Saturday.
Yeah.
But your judgment is going to be based off of the more time you spend with them. But the actual, the reality is what the reality is.
Yeah.
And so stepping back and just looking at the scrimmage, do you go, this is my guy? Obviously, Ryan is involved. But you probably get a better picture as opposed to saying, well, he worked really well in this drill. He did really well in this. But that's great. But this is the product he put on the field in 11 on 11. This is the product in 7 on 7. This is what I'm seeing. And then Fesler can say, well, this is what happened in those drills that you didn't see,
Sure.
where I think this guy is growing. I think that is what you would probably want. Because at the end of the day, the product is what matters.
Sure.
The 11 on 11 is what matters. And Ryan's right there in 11 on 11. He's right behind the quarterback.
Yeah.
And all Saturday, he was behind Julian in 11 on 11 when they split fields. And so I'd be very interested to know if you can learn more by stepping back than being in the weeds constantly day to day. Does that make sense? Did I make sense?
You
Austin?
made sense. You made a ton of sense. Now, when they did go 11 on 11 with the first units together for the first time, who did take the
Lincoln Keenholz.
Okay, I just want...
And do you know what I said?
Here comes the devil on my shoulder coming out again.
Here's the thing. Somebody commented on the last one. And
there were comments.
And they said, this is a whole lot of nothing. And it was a whole lot of nothing because I don't know how much we're supposed to value things like Lincoln Keenholz taking the first snap in 11 on 11.
Well, we're not supposed to.
But that's the problem. It has to matter. Everything matters. At the end of the day, did they probably roll him? Yes. But when Lincoln walked out there, everybody started writing in their notebooks.
It's not even probably. They definitely did. The next time they went through the ones,
they did. But
Julian Sayin was out there.
I'm saying, today when they practice, I'm sure that Julian was the first one to lead the 11 on 11. I get frustrated with fall camp because I love it, because we learn so much.
Yeah.
But we also get these weird...
But we also learn so little.
We get these weird open-ended things and we're trying to grasp and make sense of them. At the end of the day, they're not to make sense. I was talking to Matt Patricia after and I said, how much does all that go through your mind? And this guy's out there now and he said, no, it's day 3. He's like, I'm just trying to figure out, we're just trying to grow right now. None of that matters. I'm like...
I said, you guys are dummies. Get out of here.
That's what he said.
Just let us handle this.
He took his pencil and he poked me. He said, get away.
I know that. And you were bleeding everywhere.
It was horrible. The other question, do I have to only ask Billy Fesler, or can I go back to Julian and Lincoln?
You can ask anyone you want. This is Talk King Tuesday.
I like to ask the quarterbacks about defensive ends.
Oh.
Who is...
Still a different perspective.
Yes. And not even defensive line. Who right now are you looking at and marking in your head where he is?
I bet it's 97.
I bet it's not. And that's what I want to hear. I want to hear. Like, maybe they say, when we know Bo Atkinson is in on a rep, I'm taking one side to my left a little bit. I'm a little nervous. I'd love to get their thoughts on a defense. And Lincoln's been here. How different does this defense look than last year's defense? He's seen it grow. He's seen it change. Yeah, so thank you. Keep stealing. So I think you get a very different perspective. And at the end of the day, the guy who knows the defensive line the best is the guy who's running away from him.
And got hit by them some in the spring.
Who are the guys? And defensive tackle. You want to talk about defensive tackle?
I do want to.
Tell me remove Edric Houston.
They did.
Thank you. Okay. First, by the way, got a thumbs up from Edric. He's doing okay.
I talked to him Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
He is the best.
Yeah, he said he'll be back.
And he tried to get into drills on Saturday on practice number 3. I would be stunned is too strong a word. I'd be mildly surprised if he's not practicing by Saturday of this week.
Oh, yeah.
Like fully.
I think there was
a huge sense of relief.
Yes. First of all, and I was joking with him, did you know that everyone threw the national title out of the window? He's like, what do you mean? I said, that was it. You were down, and it was like, why play the season?
He seemed very taken back by the reaction.
Yes. I think you would feel good. I mean,
I would be like, this is great. Thank you.
Yeah. If you guys got rid of me on Talking Tuesday and the comments were like, oh my gosh, he's gone. This is so sad. I would be so happy. But the comments would be otherwise.
It's never going to happen. Right?
No.
Just separate.
Long story short, I want to hear their thoughts on the defensive tackles. Who is, maybe they say Will Smith Jr. Let me tell you, you're not hearing enough about Will Smith Jr. He is coming up. They got every single play. Yeah. And we saw the defensive line get after it. And I mean, the offensive line, I think, is probably one of the strongest units, but they were struggling a little bit there in 11-on-11. This defensive line is going to be, I think, okay, but I want to get the quarterback's perspective because they're the ones that are shaking in their boots with the defensive line. Yeah, no, I think it's a great point. And I think I'm giving extra credit when I see someone like Eric Mensah make a play in a team period, or obviously Kenyatta Jackson. I think everyone, the train has left the station on that with the hype, but when they make a play against Ohio State's offensive line, which I still view as going to be really, really good, and they held their own in the individual drills for sure, it's like, oh, well, maybe this is going to be better than anticipated. So I think you're right, and nobody's going to see that up close and personal better than the quarterbacks. Yeah, 100%. But they're not getting hit right now. No, they're not. And Ryan said they're not going to do that in fall camp. I've never seen that in spring ball. But I like it. First time I've ever seen Ryan Day do that, and I definitely did not. I can't recall Urban Meyer ever doing that before that. So it was new for sure, and I was definitely not expecting it. But I get it because, and I think that probably answers one of our other questions, is that's where he wants to see the biggest growth from the quarterbacks is in that pressure scenario. And you can see it during the game. You can see it during the practices where when they start to feel the pressure, they have a very quick trigger. Yeah. That's probably one place that, and you can't simulate that until you have Texas on August 30th. 1 versus 2. 1 versus 2. It's actually going to be here before you know it. We're also going to hear from those quarterbacks later on Tuesday. Very much looking forward to that, being back in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Won't see those practices, but we will hear about them from the Buckeyes. And then Berm and I will talk about it on Snap Judgments later on 10 TV, 10 TV Plus, 97.1 The Fan, and anywhere that you want to get audio podcasts, just download it. It's super easy. It's super easy. And then later in the week, Austin and I will be on 10 TV breaking stuff down. I can't wait. Had a lot of fun doing that last week. People really enjoyed it. Berm was nervous about the TV element of this. People on TV. I don't know why. He talks into a camera every day. But he said, he's like, we have a little fun. I'm like, that's what people want. I don't know what goofing off and having a good time is what people want alongside their football knowledge. Yeah. And I have none of that. So. But we can talk about it. We can ask questions, and we'll get answers, which is the whole point of Talking Tuesday on the Beat. Thanks to television's Adam King. He's on 10 TV.
I shouldn't. Now that we're on the same team, I shouldn't just say
10
television.
TV.
I have to
10 TV
specifically
plus.
say
97 the fan. Anything on 97 the fan plus? No, that's not a thing.
Is that a thing?
No, it's not.
I bet it will be soon.
Yeah.
It'll be great. He's the best there is. He's Adam King. I am merely Austin Ward. This has been Tuesday on the Beat on the Austin and Berm Show. We'll talk to you later.